today's roads fall apart in a decade, while Roman roads have lasted over 2,000 years. No asphalt, no modern machines, just smart engineering built to last. How did they do it, and why can't we? The answer lies in a construction method so effective, it has outlasted entire civilizations. Let's find out their secrets. And trust me, you'll be amazed. When the Romans built their roads, they didn't have satellites, maps, or even a clear view of where they were going. Most of the time, the destination was blocked by hills, forests, or valleys. But that didn't stop them from creating roads that were shockingly straight. Their secret? It was a mix of careful planning, simple tools, and some seriously smart engineering. To determine the best route for the road, the Romans used a system of beacons to create a straight path. A surveyor in Londinium needed to build a road to Noviomagus, but because he couldn't see his destination from where he stood, he used a step-by-step approach. First, he lit a beacon at his starting point in Londinium. Then, he walked in the direction of Noviomagus until he reached the highest point where he could still see the first beacon. There, he placed a second beacon. He continued this process, always ensuring that each beacon was visible from the previous one, gradually marking a straight path toward Noviomagus. When he finally reached the town, he placed the final beacon, completing the planned route. At this point, there was a rough line of beacons marking the path, but they weren't perfectly aligned yet. That's where the real challenge began. To ensure the beacons were in a perfectly straight line, that's where the groma came in. This tool consisted of a vertical pole with a crossbar on top, from which 4 weighted plumb lines hung down, ensuring it stood perfectly upright. To fine-tune the alignment, the surveyor planted the groma into the ground near the final beacon and carefully lined up 2 plumb lines with the beacon in Noviomagus. Then, he walked around the groma, checking if the other 2 plumb lines lined up with the previous beacon behind him. If any beacon was out of place, he shifted it slightly until everything matched up. This process continued 1 beacon at a time, ensuring the entire route from Londinium to Noviomagus formed a perfectly straight line. This was a slow and frustrating job, especially without modern communication. Today, a quick call or a drone could help workers adjust things in minutes, but back then, they had to rely on hand signals, shouting, or messengers running between beacons. In forests, where visibility was even worse, fires were lit so the rising smoke could act as a marker. With enough patience and adjustments, the surveyor would eventually get 3 beacons perfectly aligned. The one in Noviomagus, the one he was standing at, and the one behind him. Once those 3 were set, he moved between each beacon along the route, checking and adjusting until every single one was in line. It was long, tedious work, but this attention to detail meant that Roman roads became the backbone of their empire. Once the beacons were precisely aligned, road construction could begin. Building the roads themselves was just as impressive. The Romans didn't just lay down a dirt path and hope for the best. They built roads that could handle the weight of marching soldiers, heavy supply carts, and unpredictable weather. Their straight roads allowed armies to move faster, trade to flow more easily, and resources from Britain to be sent all across the Roman world. The secret? It was their use of aggregates, different-sized stones packed together so tightly that they formed a solid, stable surface. These roads weren't just built to last a few years. They were made to survive centuries. And somehow, they still exist today, while modern roads seem to fall apart after just a few harsh winters. But the Romans didn't stop at just making their roads strong. They made them efficient too. One of their most brilliant ideas was adding a camber, a slight curve to the surface of the road. This meant that rainwater wouldn't just sit on the road and turn it into a muddy mess. Instead, the water ran off to the sides, keeping the surface dry and solid. Alongside the roads, they built drainage systems to collect and channel the water away, preventing flooding or erosion. It's a design so effective that modern roads still use the same technique today. The attention to detail didn't stop at construction. Along every Roman road, carved milestones were placed to mark distances and give directions to travelers. These helped soldiers, merchants, and messengers know exactly how far they had to go and which Roman settlements lay ahead. The roads were more than just paths from one city to another. They were the lifelines of an empire, carefully planned, skillfully built, and made to stand the test of time. While Roman roads were famous for their durability, they were also designed with practical city planning in mind. Beneath many of these roads, the Romans constructed underground drainage tunnels that acted as early sewage systems. These tunnels kept rainwater from pooling on the streets, preventing roads from turning into muddy, impassable pathways. But the Romans didn't stop there. Some of these tunnels also carried waste away from cities, creating a sanitation system far ahead of its time. This level of engineering put medieval cities to shame. Centuries later, towns without proper drainage suffered from flooding, disease, and filth, while Roman cities had already tackled these problems with clever infrastructure. Even today, many modern cities still struggle with drainage issues, with streets flooding after heavy rain, something the Romans had solved thousands of years ago. In the colder regions of the empire, such as Britannia and parts of Gaul, some wealthy towns took innovation to the next level by experimenting with under-road heating systems. Inspired by the hypocauste technology used in Roman bathhouses, these systems channeled heated air through empty spaces beneath the roads, preventing ice buildup and keeping paths clear even in harsh winters. Though not widely adopted, the mere fact that the Romans explored this idea shows their remarkable engineering foresight. Roads were the lifelines of the empire, and ensuring year-round travel, even in freezing conditions, was a priority. Today, heated roads remain rare, mostly limited to private driveways and select Scandinavian cities. But there was one major challenge the Romans had to face: traffic congestion. Before we dive into how they tackled this issue, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. I mean, Rome was a city with narrow roads, countless carts, merchants, pedestrians, and even chariots all trying to move through the same spaces. To manage the chaos, by the 1st century BCE, the Romans started designating certain roads as one-way streets. This was a surprisingly modern traffic control measure that helped ease congestion and improve flow within the city. Some streets even had time restrictions for heavy carts, allowing only pedestrian or light vehicle traffic during busy hours. Basically, an ancient version of rush hour regulations. Their roads were powerful tools of war, too. These roads allowed legions to move quickly across the empire, but some may have held hidden secrets designed to give Rome an edge in battle. In dangerous regions, where ambushes were common, historians believe some roads contained concealed storage areas filled with extra weapons and supplies. If soldiers needed to resupply in the middle of an attack, these hidden stockpiles could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Many roads also ran alongside fortresses, camps, and defensive walls, giving troops quick access to safe positions when under threat. Some experts even suggest that Roman engineers may have built secret escape routes, allowing soldiers to disappear into the landscape if a battle turned against them. Though not all of these features were well documented, the Romans were masters of strategic planning, and their roads played an essential role in military campaigns. They were a lifeline for their armies, keeping them supplied, protected, and ready for whatever came next. Beyond military use, Roman roads also provided essential services for travelers, similar to modern-day highway rest stops. It made long journeys easier and more efficient. Along major routes, travelers could stop at mansiones, roadside inns that provided food, rest, and fresh horses for those on official business. These inns were especially valuable for government messengers and officials, helping maintain a fast and reliable communication system across the empire. For shorter stops, mutations served as relay stations where travelers could quickly exchange tired horses for fresh ones, allowing for faster long-distance travel. Some larger mansions even included medical care, blacksmith services, and small marketplaces where merchants could trade goods. While these ancient inns didn't look anything like modern motels or gas stations, they served the same purpose, giving travelers a place to rest, resupply, and continue their journey efficiently. One of the most famous Roman roads still in existence is the Via Appia, or the Appian Way. Built in 312 BC under the direction of the Roman censor Appius Claudius Caecus, this was one of the earliest and most strategically important roads of the Roman Republic. It stretched from Rome all the way to Brundisium, modern-day Brindisi, a crucial port city that connected Italy to Greece and the Eastern Mediterranean. This road was a game-changer for Rome, allowing for faster movement of troops, trade goods, and messengers, which in turn helped the Republic expand its power across the Italian peninsula and beyond. Walking along the Appian Way today, you can still find long stretches paved with the original basalt stones, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, cartwheels, and hooves. In some areas, deep grooves from ancient wagon wheels are still visible, permanent reminders of the heavy traffic that once passed through. Unlike modern roads, which require constant repairs due to potholes and weather damage, many sections of the Appian Way have survived with surprisingly little upkeep. But the Appian Way wasn't just a practical road, it was also a road of history and legend. Along its path, you can find the ruins of ancient tombs and monuments, including the eerie catacombs of St. Sebastian and St. Calixtus, where early Christians buried their dead in underground tunnels. It was also the site of one of the most brutal moments in Roman history. After the failed slave revolt led by Spartacus in 71 BC, thousands of his followers were crucified along the road as a warning to any who dared to rebel against Rome. Today, while parts of the road have been incorporated into modern highways, other sections remain nearly untouched, allowing visitors to step back in time and walk the same path that Roman soldiers, traders, and even emperors once traveled. One possible reason is that Roman roads were built for durability, not speed. They were meant to support heavy military transport and trade over long periods. Today, roads are built quickly and with cost efficiency in mind, often using cheaper materials and thinner layers. Asphalt, which is commonly used today, degrades over time due to temperature changes and heavy traffic. Roman roads, on the other hand, used tightly packed stone foundations that resisted erosion and shifting. Could it be that we've prioritized short-term convenience over long-term durability? Another fascinating example of Roman road-building expertise is the Via Domitia, the first Roman road built in what is now France. Unlike the Via Appia, which was an entirely Roman creation, the Via Domitia had a history that stretched back even before the Romans arrived. It was originally a well-worn path used by traders and travelers for centuries, but it gained historical fame in 218 BC when the Carthaginian general Hannibal led his army, including his famous war elephants, along its route during his legendary march to invade Italy. At that time, it was little more than a rough trail, but once the Romans took control of the region, they transformed it into something far greater. They widened it, paved it with durable stone, and added bridges, mile markers, and rest stations, turning it into a vital highway that connected Italy to Spain. What had once been a simple trading path became one of the most strategic and long-lasting roads of the ancient world. And the interesting part, today, sections of the Via Domitia can still be walked, and in some places, you can even see the original Roman paving stones beneath your feet. This road was essential for maintaining control over the Roman province of Gaul, as it allowed troops, supplies, and information to move quickly between settlements. Even after centuries of erosion, flooding, and human activity, the Via Domitia refuses to completely disappear. One of the best preserved examples is the Pont Julien in southern France, which was originally part of the Via Domitia. Built around 3 BC, this bridge was constructed entirely from precisely cut limestone blocks, fitted together without the use of mortar. This technique, known as dry stone construction, was so effective that the bridge has remained standing for over 2,000 years, enduring floods, heavy loads, and the natural wear of time. Incredibly, it remained in regular use for vehicles until 2005, when it was finally retired to protect its ancient structure. Would we be better off if we followed their example today? But before that, let me tell you another fascinating example, which is the Pont Flavian. The Romans weren't just experts at building roads, they were also masters of bridge construction, and many of their stone bridges still stand today, a testament to their unmatched engineering skills. This bridge Pont Flavian, located in southern France, built along the Via Julia Augusta, a road that connected Italy with the Roman provinces of Gaul and Hispania, this bridge is an incredible example of Roman craftsmanship. Unlike modern bridges that rely on steel and concrete, the Pont Flavian was built entirely from carved stone, with each block cut so precisely that no mortar was needed. The weight of the stones and the perfect curvature of the arches evenly distributed pressure, making the bridge incredibly strong. This technique, known as true arch construction, allowed Roman bridges to absorb the forces of nature, floods, earthquakes, and centuries of erosion without collapsing. Compare that to today's bridges, which often rely on steel reinforcements embedded in concrete. While this method allows for rapid construction and impressive spans, it has major weaknesses. Over time, water and air seep into tiny cracks in the concrete, causing the steel inside to rust and expand, which weakens the entire structure. That's why modern bridges require constant maintenance and repairs, while some Roman stone bridges, like the Pont Flavian, have stood strong for years with little intervention. While the Pont Flavian was a road bridge, the Pont du Gard, one of the most breathtaking Roman structures in France, was an aqueduct. Though not designed for foot traffic, it followed the same principles that made Roman roads and bridges so durable. Meticulous planning, superior materials, and an obsession with longevity. This massive three-tiered bridge was built in the 1st century AD to transport fresh water to the Roman city of Nemausus, modern-day Nimes. Standing over 160 feet high, its arches are not only structurally perfect, but also aesthetically stunning. The fact that the Pont du Gard remains one of the most visited ancient sites in the world proves that Roman engineering wasn't just about function, it was also about beauty. Roman bridges weren't just limited to France. In Spain, the Alcantara Bridge is one of the finest examples of Roman engineering still in use today. Built in the 2nd century AD under Emperor Trajan, this stone bridge spans the Tagus River and was designed to withstand heavy loads, just like the roads it connected. Even in Germany, the Manfred Bridge, another Roman construction, continues to stand as a reminder of their architectural skill. The answer may lie in their construction philosophy. Romans built not just for their immediate needs, but for future generations. They knew their empire relied on solid infrastructure, so they invested time, labor, and high-quality materials to ensure longevity. Perhaps one of the most intriguing stories comes from Trajan's bridge in Romania. Built across the Danube River, this massive bridge was a feat of engineering, but it was later deliberately destroyed, not by enemies, but by Trajan's successor, Hadrian, who feared it would make it too easy for invaders to cross. Just think about it, a bridge so well built that it had to be taken down by the very empire that created it. Even beyond Europe, Roman road-building techniques left their mark. The Via Maris, an ancient trade route connecting Egypt to Syria, was built and maintained by the Romans as part of their vast network of roads. In Iran, remnants of a bridge built across Caesar's Dam still stand. According to legend, the Persian emperor captured a Roman emperor and forced his soldiers to construct the bridge and dam, a rare instance where Roman engineering was used under duress. But even under these conditions, they managed to build something that lasted far longer than many modern structures. Looking at these roads and bridges, it's clear that Roman engineering was ahead of its time. But the real question is, why haven't we matched their level of quality? Is it because we rely too much on temporary materials? As we continue to deal with failing infrastructure, there's a lot we could learn from the Romans. Their roads and bridges weren't just functional, they were built with the future in mind. Maybe if we took the same approach today, we wouldn't have to keep fixing the same holes every year.